Good evening. Strange and Interesting Times, day 205. And these are strange times for sure. So, this is Laura Donnelly from Dancing with Ease, Body Brain Balance, and I was here today thinking about change and expectations and dreams and disappointments that happen um, and just how can we deal with these things, because they happen all the time, every day. And I like the metaphor of getting back on your surfboard, getting back on your skateboard. I was talking to somebody the other day about sometimes how things happen. And when something happens, sometimes it feels like when you're on your skateboard and you're going downhill and you hit some gravel. So I'm old enough that when they first made skateboards, you just used them on the sidewalk wherever you were. And they weren't brilliantly successful. The skate parks with the really nice, smooth surfaces, those are pretty awesome. Now the urban skaters who slide down the railings and jump over things, those guys are amazing. And what you need to know is that they fall way, way, way more often when they're learning to do those tricks than they succeed. And that's perseverance and bravery and grit with the gravel, sorry. The other thing I often say is that the best skill that parents can teach their kids is to get back up after they get tackled. Because we're all going to get tackled sometime by something. And I had Miriam Grunhaus talk on the healing path recently, and she talked about healing with gold based on the kintsugi pottery work. And what happens when you do this pottery work is when the pot is broken, instead of being ruined and thrown away, a master kintsugi person puts it back together using gold and a really fine kind of lacquer. And then the pot has this new design. Whatever the design was originally, all through it is woven this golden glue, holding it back together. So many times, many things happen to us in our lives, and we can feel broken, and we can. A lot of times, I feel less broken and more like bruised, like I was like inside of a washing machine and just spun all around. But it takes a little time to get over that, to take care of yourself. It's good if you can give yourself time. And if you can't give yourself time, one of the best skills is to come back to your center. And I do that by scanning for ease and letting my system realign itself, because my body and my brain, they know better how to align me for the next activity or for whichever activity I'm doing than I do. I mean, my body knows how to sit up. I can tell it to shoulders back and head forward and all lengthen the spine, and then I just look like a robot. But if I just say that I want to sit here, then my body makes all the adjustments it needs to make to sit up well, in alignment and comfortably, so that my vocal apparatus works and I can speak and talk, breathe, swallow, whatever. So for me, coming back into my body and stopping interfering, stopping trying to do everything so that my body can realign, gives me a little bit of a pause. And this allows me the space I need to make a choice and take conscious action as opposed to unconscious reaction. So, whatever the situation you find yourself in, whether it's the disappointment of losing a job, losing a loved one, just stubbing your toe, sometimes stubbing your toe is really bad, especially if you are a dancer and you have to dance on point. This can be really bad. Doesn't sound so bad. Doesn't sound like a crisis. But as I said another day, a really big problem to one person is not any big deal at all to somebody else. And we aren't the judge of that for other people. We are only the judge of that for ourselves. I was talking to another friend about compassion and having compassion for ourselves. And she's a very good friend. And one of the things she said is that it had come to her after thinking about this for quite some time, is that compassion is not the same as self-care. So having compassion for herself is not the same of taking care of herself. And I thought, well, that's true. That's a distinction. Now, if you have compassion for yourself, you might recognize that you're fatigued and run down and that you need a little extra care, and then you might do something for yourself that falls under the heading of self-care. Self-care might be a choice and an action that you make out of a place of compassion for yourself. Now, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in a pretty rural county. People were tough. We rode horses. We played on our bikes. A lot of people rode their bikes barefooted. Not me. My mom knew I wanted to dance, and so I always had to wear shoes. Not sandals, not anything. Closed-toed shoes, so that if I wrecked or I put my foot down to stop the bike, I didn't rip up my tool, which was my foot, which I needed to dance. But at the same time, we played hard. I mean, I played tackle football I was like, probably, let me think. There was one other girl in my neighborhood, and she was at least 6 years younger than me. And all the rest of the kids in my immediate neighborhood were boys. So I played all the games that the boys played. It was tackle football. I was tackle football, and trust me, I was never very big. I'm 5'3" now, and I was always short. And I'm a good sprinter, but I'm not a fast runner. So I had to play with the guys. I had to be tough, and so that meant if I got knocked down or got the air knocked out of me, I didn't let myself cry. Does that mean I didn't have compassion for myself? Maybe. If I keep doing that thing to myself over and over and over, maybe so. But compassion for me, compassion is caring, like a deep caring from the heart that has to do with accepting and not trying to change myself or somebody else. Now, I can choose, right? I don't have to yell at the top of my lungs all the time. I can choose to speak quietly. But if I have a natural exuberance and a naturally loud voice, I don't have to shrink away from that and feel not good enough. I think compassion is also one. I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to have to look at it a little bit more, because I think it is a word with a lot of nuance to it, and I think that compassion is definitely helpful in like if you fall off your surfboard and you spend a lot of time yelling at yourself because you got off balance and you fell off your surfboard, you're going to be swallowing a lot of water during that time. Better to just, as you're falling, grab a quick breath, grab hold of your board, and as soon as you can get your head above water, figure out how to get back on the board. How are you going to go again? Because I think I said this yesterday, that all injury, I think, happens through movement, and I think healing happens through movement. And so there isn't a perfectly healed thing. There isn't a perfectly good thing. There are things we want to achieve. that we may achieve, other things that we'll miss out on. I had an interesting experience where something that I had wanted and thought was the really ideal, creative, helping, teaching job for me in the place where I wanted to be, that was my be all and end all job. And then I had the funny idea that it would uh, cover me from just doing this and doing that and being an artist and performing and saving up some money and then taking a trip around the world, spending it all and coming back and having to start over again to save up again. I thought this job was at the end of towards the end of my working career, and that it would give me a good solid 10 years to build a pension, to to have health insurance, I just thought it was the magical answer to all things. And I swear to heaven, it evaporated. It disappeared. It fell out and apart. And nothing I did to hold it together was going to make it hold together. Didn't matter how hard I worked. Didn't matter if I got angry. Didn't matter if I cried. Didn't matter. Any of it didn't matter. But now, a few years down the road, I'm like, well, that was not my ideal job. Yeah, Sharon, I know. I understand that too. And you know what else is? It doesn't matter when it's happening, what anybody says to you. It doesn't matter. They don't understand. It wasn't their dream. It maybe even seems like a silly dream to them. And then so to have compassion for ourselves, to let ourselves feel all the feelings, but not be carried away by them. To take care of ourselves during that transition period. Whether that taking care of ourselves is taking a break, getting a zone out job. Sometimes a zone out job is the perfect thing. You keep your hands busy, you keep your body busy, and your mind is pretty much occupied for a good amount of time, and you produce something. And gradually things heal, and then you can get yourself back on track and figure out what to do next. And then if you're lucky, like me, you discover, oh, that didn't work out no matter how much energy I put into it, because that wasn't the thing that fit me. Same thing happened, Mary. Yeah. And it's interesting to really trust the process, to trust that the falling off is it. I mean, we like to think about, surfing and being successful, but the falling off is part of being successful. And the most important part is figuring out for yourself what works for you so that you can get back up and get on your surfboard or your skateboard, or depending on the game you're playing, just back up on your feet. So that's my thoughts for day 205 of Strange and Interesting Times. It's good to see you, Mary and Sharon. I hope you guys are having a good enough day. And I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, day 206. Take good care.